All right, so we're going to read a story about Ranginui and Papatuanuku now that you've watched the video showing Papatuanuku and the meaning of this for our country. In the beginning, there was Te Kore Kore, the nothingness. All was dark and still. There was no light, no life, but there was potential for life. Slowly, the darkness gave way to the light, and the first parents, Ranginui and Papatuanuku, emerged. Ranginui and Papatuanuku clung to each other in a strong, loving embrace. They created many children, the atua, who lived in the cramped, dimly lit space between them. The children were unhappy living in the dark and decided to separate their parents so they could live in light. They tried to separate their parents several times, but their embrace was too strong. Tane Mahuta had an idea. He lay down with his back against his mother, Papatuanuku, and pushed his feet up against his father, Ranginui. With strength, he pushed against his parents until finally their embrace was broken. The separation of Ranginui and Papatuanuku created the universe. Papatuanuku became our earth with its rugged mountains, deep valleys, and flat plains. Ranginui became the sky, allowing Papatuanuku's body to be enveloped in light, warmth, and air. Ranginui and Papatuanuku were heartbroken about their separation and often cried as they looked at each other. Their tears covered much of the land and formed the sea. The children were concerned that the crying would flood the earth, so they turned Papatuanuku on her side, making it difficult for the grieving parents to look at each other. The children thrived in a new light-filled world. Their mauri, their life force, developed and they brought new life into the world. Tane Mahuta became atua of the forests and created the plants, birds, and insects, while Tangaroa became atua of the water and created the fish and other animals that dwell there. Life flourished on Papatuanuku. However, Tawhiri Matia, who disagreed with the separation of his parents, went to live with his father and became atua of the wind and storms. To this day, he is still angry with his brothers and shakes the forest of Tane Mahuta with fierce storms, breaking branches and crashing trees to the ground. He whips up the seas with gales and casts some of Tangaroa's children on the shore. While the agony of the initial separation has eased, Papatuanuku and Ranginui still long for each other and often weep. Papatuanuku's tears bubble up from the earth in the form of fresh water springs, and her sighs for Ranginui are seen as the soft mist that lingers over her valleys. Ranginui's tears fall as rain, and they merge with the tears of Papatuanuku, creating streams and rivers that flow to the sea. Where the mountain peaks seem to touch the sky, the separated parents are closest to each other. Being so close to his beloved, Ranginui sometimes cries, and his tears create a veil of mist over the mountain peaks. So it was that water was created by the grief of the separated parents. Aotearoa became a land filled with fresh, clean waters that flowed from the rugged mountains to the sea. The streams, rivers, and lakes contain their own mauri, their own life-giving energy, essential for sustaining life on Papatuanuku. I hope you enjoyed that story. We're going to be using this story as the basis for our inquiry this week. Our inquiry is around our Earth. We're going to be looking at the water cycle, which is a very important part of our Earth. What is the water cycle? You're going to read this part here about the bond between the different states. You're going to think about, in a Māori worldview, how life began with Ranginui and Papatuanuku. We're going to look at the water cycle and atua, and we've got a water cycle experiment here that you can possibly do at home as well. Further down, we're going to be answering some questions about Papatuanuku and the story. And then underneath this, we're going to be creating a drawing of our own water cycle. So that's a bit of an explanation on what's up this week.